Here can be seen an incredible concentration of Grant's gazelles, impalas, bubal antelopes, topes, and zebras, whose hearing is so keen that the movement of a predator, be it a lion or a leopard, can be heard some 100 yards away. Man has intelligence going for him. Animals are often gifted with fine hearing, strength, agility, or speed. Man from the first was a hunter. Hunting induced him to devise techniques, tricks, and weapons. Hunting was to free man of some of his fears, whilst establishing relationships of a magical nature with the elements. Doubtless, hunting was also man's first group activity. The Azandi tribe in southern Sudan today still uses a hunting technique which must date back to the Stone Age. One of this tribe's customs is regularly to set fire to the savanna so as to drive the animals into nets held taut between trees. Some 20,000 years ago, men were performing these very same acts. Much hustle, great destruction, and all for a result totally disproportionate to the vegetation burnt. A few marsh rats, called agoutis. Generally speaking, women do not take part in game hunting nowadays, any more than they did in prehistoric times. It was thus, very early on, that the idea of setting up camps where women would be able to have shelter and take care of children and old folk developed. This is when the first social relationships came into being. Protective, friendly relationships, which were to have a determining influence on the fate of mankind. Among the huts and lofts built on piles, women and children bustle about. But any time a man goes by, it is with such dignity, it's as if he were the lord of the universe. Polygamy is still the rule. It goes along with wealth and social contacts. Women work in the fields and build the huts. A very large family, for example 20 to 30 children, is a token of health and a promise of prosperity. On a wedding day, a daughter is worth 50 head of cattle or so, and a groom, prestige. Among these ethnics of the Upper Nile, such as the Turkana, a good wife gives expression to her beauty, hence the basic importance, since the beginning of time, of adornments and jewels. It is also the woman's task to prepare meals. They cook the sorghum broth, grill goat's meat, ferment milk in cow's urine. For the Kenyan Samburu people, the red men, jewels are just as important, and their hair shines with a mixture of butter and clay. The diet of the younger age group, the so-called warriors, is an almost exclusive diet of milk and blood, seldom meat. Warriors go through an apprenticeship in secret, far from the settlement and onlooking women. There in the dry season camp, they often mix she-camel's blood and milk. They draw the blood by sticking a dart into the vein in the neck. The blood is collected and stirred to prevent it coagulating. The wound is closed, clogged up with sand. The camel is then turned out with the herd. Milk and blood, noble foodstuffs, and a major contributor of protein in the bad season. It is thanks to practices of this kind that humanity has borne up over the centuries, surviving drought, shortage, famine. Consuming the blood has become a rite for the Samburu, reserved to initiates. Children and women are turned away. According to the symbolic laws, the red of blood symbolizes matter, and the white of milk, the spirit. The whole of Africa is divided into a host of tribes, over 70 in the Sudan alone, speaking languages which are sometimes totally different. Such diversity stems from the fact that the communities were isolated over the centuries by the mountains, the deserts, the forests, the lakes, and there were innumerable migrations. According to the tradition of Nilotic peoples, some 1,000 years ago perhaps, pastoral folk came from the east, the heights of Ethiopia. Some brought with them their livestock and settled as leading aristocracy in kingdoms. Others became nomads with neither chiefs nor laws in the virgin tracts of present-day Uganda, Kenya, and the Sudan. The Toposa settled but scarcely 200 years ago in the south of the Sudan. Tall, slim, like all the Nilotic people, somewhat shy, they live in a society with no leaders, though organized in age categories, or rather, a hierarchy of generations. At the top, the aged members of the group who have retired, the patriarchs, the custodians of knowledge and honorary power, a whole class of wise men, of priests, in touch with the Great Spirit. Neither servant nor master, but on the contrary, an extraordinary spirit of brotherhood within a single generational group. Day in, day out, they adorn each other's hair and beard with vegetable dyes. They take each other on at Nicoles, a game where the 96 pebbles representing head of cattle have to be taken from one's opponent.
Aram